Okay, so here's the Unit 4 question. Suppose the probability that a U.S. resident has traveled to Japan is 0.1, meaning like 10% of the population has been to Japan. To Mexico is zero point 0.2, so like 20% of the population has been to Mexico. And to both is 0.01, meaning to both Mexico and Japan, like at different times, obviously, would be 1% of the population. So what's the probability that an American chosen at random has traveled to Japan, not Mexico, traveled to either Japan or Mexico, or has not traveled to either country? So what we have to do is set this up by making some Venn diagrams. We have two topics, so we're going to make two circles. We have Japan and Mexico. So let's put Japan and Mexico. And they gave us some probabilities. So what we like to do is start with the middle part. The middle is 0.01. That's both. Now to Japan, then both and by itself has to add to 0.1, okay? Or kind of like 0.10, kind of like 10. It's like 10 cents, and that's like 1 cent. And so 0.2 would be like 0.20. So let's take a look at Japan. Japan has to add up to 0.1 or 0.10, and so I can simply take the 0.10 and take away the 0.01, and I get 0.09. So Japan only is just 0.09, plus the 0.01 will add up to the 0.10. Okay. Mexico is 0.02. So if I do, whoops, not 0.02, it's 0.2. 0.20. Okay, so that's 0.19, 0.19. Those add up to 0.2. Okay, so these numbers combined need to add up to the numbers that are in the problem. And you start with a both and you kind of work backwards that way. Okay. So this whole thing, this whole box is supposed to add to 100%. Okay. So to add it to 100%, what we're going to do is say, well, 100%, which is like 1, take away each one of those numbers. So 0.09. Well, that's 0.91. Okay. Let's take away 0.01. Well, that would be 0.90. And then let's take away 0.19. 90 minus 19 would be like 71. Okay, you can double check that. 1 minus 0.09 minus 0.01 minus 0.19. Okay, cool. So that's the probability for none of it. Now that we have it all labeled, we have this number, this number, this number, and that number, we should be able to answer these questions. So who has traveled to Japan but not to Mexico? That would be this little probability, that little group right there. Okay, that's that. How about to travel to either Japan or Mexico? So we're going to include the both. So we're going to add all three of those. They've been to Japan, or they've been to Mexico, or they've been to both. So we're going to say 0.09 plus 0.01 plus 0.19. That's to 0.29. Last but not least, to either country, that's the 0.70 or 0.71. 0. Okay. So one more time, the numbers they give you, start from the middle and work your way out to each side. Take that away from the Japan, take that away from the Mexico, and it gives you Japan only, Mexico only, or whatever your situation is. But I would also make sure you find the number out here, which tells you how much is not part of that probability. Okay. All right. That was the Unit 4 question.